Okay, so 2.4, like I said, isn't going to be a whole lot of anything really. Because technically you have moved on from Algebra 2. Technically you passed Algebra 2. So technically you can use a calculator now for all the imaginary number stuff. Okay. So, do I think you need to write all of that stuff down below? No, but I do think you need to write what's in that box. Okay. Those are the things your calculator can't help you with. Okay. I, which is your imaginary number, is going to be the square root of -1. So whenever we have a negative underneath our radical with an even index, remember index is the little number, if it's the square root, the fourth root, sixth root, so on. If you have a negative underneath, we're going to have an imaginary number. But if it's cubed root, fifth root, or anything of an odd index, then we're not going to have that I there. I squared is -1. Again, that's something that is important for you to know. But down below, that's basically saying if you were adding two complex numbers together, you'd add the two real parts and then you'd add the two imaginary parts. And that's it. Okay. It's like combining like terms. Same thing goes with subtraction, multiplication, and division. Division was the harder one out of all of them, where you had to multiply by the conjugate. Okay. But again, like I said, we can do all of this in our calculator now. So it's kind of an easy lesson today in regards to just plugging it in the calculator. But I am going to go over a couple things that you would have to do prior to plugging things into a calculator. Okay. So cannot have an I in the denominator. Why? Because I is the square root of -1 and you can't have a square root in the denominator. That was why you rationalized. Okay. So like I said, in our calculator, if you did not know, I is in your calculator. You're going to type this in exactly how you see it. So if you use alpha y equals and you use the actual or the fraction, you can do it that way. Sometimes it's weird and doesn't let you do that. I'll show you what you can do if it does not let you do that. Okay, so I is second decimal. And then 4 minus 2i. So if I press enter, you got an error? Okay, so if you get an error for some reason, I don't know if it's like a calculator update of some sort or whatever, you're just going to have to go old school, all right? So you're going to just plug in parentheses 2 plus 3i divided by 4 minus 2i. And we'll check another piece too before we fully commit to this. But you have to use parentheses on both your numerator and your denominator. Sometimes they'll give you a decimal as an answer, and you can just hit math frac, and it gets it to a fraction for you. Double check your mode. Go to your mode. And in some cases, you can put it to this a plus bi and it'd work. I don't know. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. There's been a glitch in some calculators where they won't let you do it. Okay, so the same thing for the next problem. 3 over 1 minus I. Let me move this over. So 3 halves plus 3 halves I. Okay, So your calculator is putting it in standard form for you. All of your answers should be in standard form, which standard form is A plus BI. Okay. But all of these problems you're going to be able to plug straight into the calculator. So this is a hard one for me to determine if you look in the back of the book and just copy the back of the book, okay? Because it's literally just the answers you're just going to be writing. There's really no work that's going to be shown. If you had to graph, you did this in Algebra 2, but it really didn't have any meaning to it. They literally taught you how to do it, and then that was it. In pre-cal, it has a meaning, okay? Not right now, but it will towards the end of this year. I wanted to say semester, okay? So when graphing complex numbers, your x-axis is your real axis and your y-axis is your imaginary. Super simple. But if I was to plot 4 minus 2i, that's the same thing as positive 4, negative 2. Okay? And that'd be it. It's like plotting the point 4, negative 2. Kind of like example 5 would be plotting the point negative 2, 3. Okay? So what it means in pre-cal world, when we get into the trig lessons, we're going to be able to draw a triangle from that. And we're going to be changing from complex to trig form or complex to polar form, different stuff like that. Okay, there's actual meaning behind, oh, we're just going to plot a point. Cool. What does that mean to me right now? It will mean something at the end of this year.
That's sine. Isn't that opposite over hypotenuse?
Yeah, we'll do all that. Mm-hmm. But in this particular case, well, we would use tangent because we would have to know our theta, which is the angle.
Yeah. Yeah. I knew that. That was a trick question.
Theta. Yeah.
I like trig actually. I thought it's pretty cool.
Trig, I love trig.
Okay. I think you're.
Are we gonna have to do a square, a circle?
You are going. It's going to be second nature to you.
Oh. I prefer longer names.
No, it's not. I teach it in a way you don't have to memorize it. If you want to memorize it, go for it. But I teach it to you in a way you don't have to. Okay, so this particular one, in some cases, they will not let you just plug this straight into the calculator. Okay, and if you have a radical, you either have to reduce it to the simplest radical form or anything of that nature. So before we could do anything, how can I rewrite the square root of negative 4? 2i. Okay, same thing here. And then from there, I can plug that straight into the calculator. Okay, so in some cases, they won't let you do it because they're like not possible imaginary solutions or no real solutions or something like that. So you might have to do a little bit of work before you plug things in the calculator. Or you might not be able to plug them into the calculator if you're dealing with radicals and stuff like that. I want simplest radical form. I don't want decimals. Okay. Other than that, like I said, if I give you an addition problem, if you want to, you can do it by hand. Whoops, that's supposed to be I. So I could do it by hand by doing, in this case, 3 plus 4 gives me 7, and then 2 minus 6 gets me a negative 4. But I know how y'all work. Y'all like to plug things in the calculator like 3 times 1 still, just to check. So again, you can do it by hand, but then you could also plug it in the calculator to double check. I think the hardest part on a lot of these problems is y'all see 2 sets of parentheses here, and then you see 2 sets of parentheses here. What happens is this is multiplication and this is addition, but y'all see those 2 sets of parentheses and you start multiplying, okay? Acknowledge the sign that's in the middle. Don't start multiplying things if you're not supposed to. Okay. All right, that's all I got.